Welcome to another episode of Celebrate You Women History Month. Hashtag Choose the Challenge with my special guest, Toni S. Winston. Toni, how's it going?
Good morning. It's wonderful. Just glad to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
I'm so glad that you're a part of it. And to our listening audience, I'm Lawana Bradford, visionary and co-founder of Celebrate You Women Embracing Wellness. And I'm excited that we are here to talk about not just Women's History Month, but hashtag choose the challenge. But before we get into that conversation, Toni, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about who is Toni S. Winston and what is going on in your world?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, you guys know me as the Freedom Travel Diva. I own my own travel company for the past 5 years and just love it. Travel is really my game. My motto is travel to be free to travel. Some exciting new things are happening with Freedom Travel Diva. We are getting ready to take on the world because everybody is starting to get inoculated and everybody's starting to travel again. And I am so excited. I've got some new things coming. So you guys stay tuned.
Love it, love it. So, Toni, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you're more than a travel resource as far as booking trips, but you're this travel advisor, this ambassador. So what does that really mean?
Oh my goodness. Thank you for asking that great question. I feel that I am showing not only other women, but men, people who are divorced, millennials. I'm just showing people how to just get out there. Travel is the number one industry in the world. And it doesn't mean that you just have to travel away. I mean, just travel around your normal, in your normal environment. I live in Powder Springs, Georgia. So I'm not very far from Atlanta, from Douglasville, from Hiram, from Dallas. And I know a lot of you are saying, what is she saying? But these places are so beautiful. I drive around in my car looking at these nice cities that are right outside of my city. I mean, who knew that Georgia has 11 waterfalls? Check it out. Beautiful. Since we've had to social distance, I've had to get very, very creative with not staying in the house so much, but just get out in my car and do some things by myself. Of course, I'm masked up, but it is so much fun to have an adventure just by yourself.
I love that, Toni, and that's one of the things. Sometimes as women, we can become, I guess, captivated by our own sense of normal,
Mhm.
become very comfortable in our box. That when things happen, we don't know how to respond and to still continue to live, a very full and enriching and, in your case, adventurous life. So it's something as simple as getting in your car and driving and seeing what's around you within, a 20, 30, 50-mile radius, you would be amazed, right, at the things you can find and discover in your own backyard.
Yes, yes. I'm a nerd. I'm just going to admit it. I'm a nerd. I love history. I love museums. And I started to research just here in my own backyard, what could I see that would be very interesting to someone else? There are a lot of parks here, little places. I love trees. I love being out in nature. I'm a gardener. So you guys know that. You've seen me garden on film and you've seen the product of what I've made. You've seen me can with my dad when I go over to Alabama. So I just love the adventure of just looking at what God has created. It is such a beautiful experience. We live our lives so fast with the hustle and bustle and meeting this time schedule, getting on this Zoom. But guys, please, please, please take some time and walk your neighborhood. I promise you, you will start to see something a little bit different than you've ever seen before. Sometimes I just stare at the sky because God makes the sky so beautiful. It can be one color, all one color, or various colors. It just depends on what you look up and see. And some days I see different shapes. Of course, I see a plane or two go by, but I mean, it's just so beautiful just to see how God can form the clouds. And then you just let your mind just go. And that's my creative space. Sometimes I just take a walk and just God will speak to me, tell me what I need to be doing next.
I love that, and so that's a perfect spot to talk about Women's History Month. And like
Mhm.
you said, this is your time. You're reflecting, you're appreciating nature and the beauty of God's creation. Now let's appreciate the women, the giants whose shoulders we stand on, and those
Yes.
women around us, including you, that are every day making their mark in history. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts regarding that.
Oh my God. Well, when I think about it, we can all name all the women who became famous in helping the women's movement. I mean, we can talk about Coretta Scott King. We can talk about Fannie Lou Hamer. We can talk about Rosa Parks. We can talk about all the women who lived and died for women's suffrage. But I cannot help myself. I have to go with my two grannies, Eliza Johnson Winston and Pauline Taylor Jackson Miles. She got married again after my grandfather died when I was 17. And she called me, my big mama called me, that's Pauline, and said, I'm getting married in my sophomore year in college. And I was so amazed because she'd been with my big daddy for since they were 15 and 17 years old. And I just looked at her life. She had 14 children. My mom was number five. She raised all of them, didn't send them to anybody else's house, worked side by side with my granddad on their farm after he worked an 8 hour day. And she died in 19, oh, I can't even remember when she passed away. I'm sorry. It escapes me because it was not a very happy time. I just saw her. But I looked at her life where she wasn't even educated. She went to the ninth grade and that was it. And a lot of things she learned, she read in books and she experienced life. And she taught me the 23rd Psalm when I was 3 years old. I'm sorry, I get so emotional because she was the one who gave me that foundation. She told me, just before she died, she said, don't ever, ever give up, no matter what you're doing. And on those days when I get really sad and I feel like I'm not accomplishing a lot, I think about my big mama Pauline. I know she's looking down and I know she's saying that girl has made it to 60. It is no telling what she's getting ready to do next because she always said I was very unconventional. I didn't want to get married, so I didn't get married until I was 45. I didn't have any children because I couldn't. But my big mama said there are things that you can do in your life when man says no, God says yes. And you have to sit still and know that God has something special for you to do. And don't let anybody take that from you.
That's beautiful. So let's now talk about the theme of this year that is the international theme for Women's History Month, which is hashtag choose to challenge.
Mhm.
And what when you think about that, we're saying choose to challenge. What are you doing? How do you embody that when you're thinking about pushing the envelope, raising the bar, blazing your trail? How is Toni Winston challenging life?
Well, I've had a few challenges along the road. I've had some recent challenges that almost turned me around and I had to just remember what Big Mama said. Because sometimes when people deliver messages to you, whether they mean a mean message or not, it will affect you. So you have to protect your gates. And this is what I'm studying, your eye gate, okay? Your eyes, what you see, your ear gate, what you hear, your nose, what you smell, your mouth, not only what you taste, but what you speak from it. These gates have to be protected. Like we protect ourselves in our homes, we buy these expensive alarm systems. Some of us are gun owners. Some of us are self defense people who know how to take care of themselves. But we got to protect these gates because this is where information enters. You hear positive, negative things. You feel it in your feelings. There's things where you smell something that's bad, you taste something that's good, or something bad flows from your mouth gate. You have to be careful what you put into the spirit realm because it comes back to you. And I'm learning that even though I got some really, really upsetting news in the last 2 weeks, that I have been fighting against my own self to
Mm.
not let it control me, my emotions in these gates. So I'm reading a book called Hung by the Tongue by Francis Martin. It's a very old little book. It's a little pamphlet, probably about 50 pages. I've read it 3 times. You have to get things into you. You have to practice so that when things come up, your first reaction is not to react. Your first reaction is to just breathe it in. Breathe it in. I have a spiritual friend who says, inhale Jesus, exhale you. Inhale Jesus, exhale you. It seems so simple, but when you are going through, and we all go through every day, just remember to inhale Jesus, exhale you. And do that about 4, 5 times and just sit still. And I promise you, that thing that's bothering you, it will keep trying to get a whole foothold. Don't let it get a foothold because God did not create us to be upset, angry, no good for ourselves, no good for our family and friends and the world. We have a special, special calling on our lives. And if you don't know what your calling is, I promise you, if you seek, you will find, and it will be so crystal clear, so crystal clear. But you've got to be still to hear it.
I love that, Tony, and I love the posturing that you just took with this hashtag choose the challenge, and you brought it inward.
Mm-hmm,
And often we're looking around, where to cast blame, or we're
mm-hmm.
challenging the systems, the status quo that's out there. But change first starts within,
Yes,
right? And then we can go out and shake up shake up the world. But
yes,
you have to challenge those, as you said, those limiting beliefs that are coming through our different gates, which are enabling us to experience. It's how we sense the world
right.
and process the world. And if you're, as you said, if you're I guess surrounding yourself with a lot of negative inputs, then imagine the spiritual and emotional toxicity that's brewing within you that ends up impacting your physical being. And as you said,
Mm-hmm,
when you speak, what spews out of your mouth tends to not be those pleasant, comforting,
mm-hmm.
loving thoughts. It's yuck, right? Because that's all that's been
Right.
coming in. And so I really love that you took a very unique posture. And so to our listening audience, I hope you just heard what Tony said. I mean, she's just sprinkled not just some gold, she sprinkled some diamond nuggets here. Take a check. Challenge you. Choose to challenge you.
Yep.
So that brings us on to the next question. The National Association of Women, we here in the U.S. we celebrated our centennial anniversary for women's rights to vote in 2020, and the National Association of Women wanted us to extend that celebration into 2021 due to the pandemic. When you think about, Tony, what it means to now have the right to vote for all women in the U.S., and that's an extension of our voice, and you're a big history buff. I'd like you to just sit in this and tell us what you think about, because our history books are filled with certain images where we think it's only certain women who
Mm-hmm,
were part of the suffrage movement, and these typically were Caucasian women. But when we start peeling back the onion, we realize that they were girded up in so many ways, from action,
Yes.
finances, etc., by African American women, Hispanic women, Asian American women, and Native American women who
Yes.
weren't afforded the right to vote until decades later. And even as early as the 1980s, Native Americans still were fighting against inequities in voter suppression in their area. So think about that in the 80s.
Yes.
So I want to turn it over to you and tell us, what do you think about what it means to exercise your voice, whether it be in voting or whether it just be in life and in business?
I want to start with voting. When I went to college in 1979, I was just at that age to cast my ballot in 1980 for the first time. And I'll never forget, my dorm mother was, her name was Miss Fanny Thompson. She's long passed on. She was in her 60s when she was our dorm mother, but she did not play. Trust me. She knew all the games. But the one thing she had a meeting with us, and she knew all of us, and she knew our birthdays. And she said, if you let this opportunity for you to vote for the first time slip by you, shame on you. Shame on
Mm.
you. And she just gave us a history. We were sitting in the living area in the dorm, and she just took 20 minutes and she gave us a history. She said, if you do not believe that people died for the right for us, and she was talking about African American women, she said, you guys already have broken the cycle because your parents have sent you to college. Your parents have sent you to college. And she said, think about that. Think about that. She said, now you have the right to make a change, not only in your community, not only in your country, but in your world. In your world. And let me tell you, when they were coming over to sign us all up to register to get voted, because it's a huge voter registration drive, I was the second one in line. I would have been the first one, but my roommate beat me. And I've been voting ever since. Now I'm going to put it in perspective of my take from just being a woman. No color, no anything, just being a woman. I look at the differences of the generations. My mom was a homemaker, and that's what she was groomed to be. And she was very good at it when she was younger. She's been sick a few years, but I never took on to that. I'm good at it, but do I like it? No, I don't like it. I don't, but I do it. I do it, and I do it well because I'm so much like her. I look like my dad, but I'm so much like my mom when it comes to cooking and cleaning because she instilled that in me. But I want women to understand we have a voice in so many conversations. The number one voice you have is the one you have right here. Don't let anybody take that from you. I don't care who it is. You keep your voice, your personal voice first, and then where you fit in that makes you happy, get on that and do it to the best of your ability. And pull a couple of sheroes along the way, like yourself. You know, I try to talk to women all the time, especially younger women, because I'm 60 years old. I'm very proud to be 60. I'm happy that God has blessed me. But I want to show some younger women some things that I made mistakes at. I'm going to try to help prevent them from making mistakes. And I think this celebrating Women's History Month is a great way to look at the past, the present, and oh my goodness, the future for my 17-year-old niece who has no fear. No fear. She graduates in May. She's going to start college somewhere. We're waiting on scholarships. She wants to be a doctor, and she is running towards this thing with no fear, none, none. And I think that is the thing for us to do today is look at the past, look at the present, and then look at the future of what we want to attain. And then take your foot off the brake and let's go.
I love that, Toni. We're almost out of time, and I know you shared, about your big mama and her impression on your life. Is there anything else that you want to share about her, and what lasting words would you like to leave our listening audience?
Oh my God. I wish you guys could have known my big mama. We called her Big Mama because when I was a kid, she weighed 250 pounds. But she lost over 100 pounds to save her life because she was really sick. Diabetes, high blood pressure, had one kidney, and she did it. She calmed it all down. She didn't take dialysis until she was 70 years old. I just look at her life and I know she took God with her every day. I catch myself when I'm in the kitchen right now singing a hymn because when she would bake and cook big meals for us, she would always say, I'm going to be in here with God and you guys go outside and play, go outside and play. And I caught her one time. She was crying and I thought someone had done something to her. I was a little kid. I ran in the kitchen. I said, Big Mama, what's wrong? Did somebody do something to you? She said, No, baby, God and I are just having a conversation. You just go back outside and play. And I knew what she was doing. That was her time, her
Mm.
quiet time with God while she was cooking and preparing all these beautiful, delectable foods for us to eat. So, my lasting words to you, ladies, is find yourself, whatever it is, do it to the best of your ability. Don't let anybody stop you. Even if somebody says, Oh, girl, that's not going to work, don't believe them. Do it anyway. It's your dream. God has put that inside of you, birth it, and get it out in front of the rest of us. Thank you guys so much for this opportunity. God is changing me. Those of you who know me know I am not the same person that I was last year. And I thank God for it. Thank you, Olawana, for this opportunity. It's been a beautiful experience.
Thank you, Toni. I love the stories. It's like when everyone is telling me about that woman who most impressed them. That's my favorite part of the interview. But tell our audience again. How can they get a hold of you?
Oh, wonderful. Yes. My name is Toni S. Winston. So you can find me on Facebook under author Toni S. Winston because I forgot. I've collaborated on about 5 or 6 books, and I'm currently working on a book under my own name. But I'm also the Freedom Travel Diva on Instagram and on Twitter, and soon to be on TikTok. But you guys can also email me at freedomtravel biz@gmail.com. And you can call me at 205 410 4660. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Toni. This has been, again, an honor and a privilege. As always, just enjoy talking with you. And thank you for sharing with our listening audience and being a part of Women's History Month. Hashtag Choose to Challenge with Toni S. Winston.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
And to everyone, as we always say within Celebrate You, remember to love yourself,
So, yes,
embrace
that's
yourself,
yourself.
and whatever you
You
do,
do it.
celebrate
Celebrate you.
you. Until next time.